suspenseful, tense. A single wrong step could cost him his life. Young Officer Artem's hands trembled as he gripped the envelope. One careless sound, one misstep, and the secret message, the mission, everything could vanish. His task seemed simple: deliver a letter to a neutral zone. But in war, simple often meant impossible. The envelope was light, yet the weight of responsibility pressed down like a leaden stone. The forest awaited, slopes cloaked in the season's first snow. A blizzard masked his tracks, yet every shadow, every whispering branch hinted at hidden danger. Hours passed, and he noticed parallel tracks, small, precise steps following him. Someone was hunting him. Heart hammering, Artem crouched, ear straining, moving from tree to tree. A faint rustle deep in the woods froze him in place. Maybe it's just the wind, he whispered, but instinct screamed otherwise. Every minute on these snowy slopes was a test, a gamble with invisible stakes. Memories of past missions flickered in his mind. The failed reconnaissance where he had lost 2 men, the night ambush where silence had saved his life. Each thought made his pulse quicken. He wondered if this time he could avoid the same mistakes. Every shadow seemed alive, every snowflake a potential trap. The forest felt like a living entity, aware of his presence, waiting for him to falter. After hours of tense movement, Artem reached a clearing and paused to catch his breath. He scanned the surroundings. Distant lights of a village flickered through the snowfall. He knew the meeting point was nearby. Yet the forest had one last test. A broken branch snapped underfoot. He froze, muscles locked, listening for any response. Nothing. But he could not trust silence. It could be the calm before disaster. At the edge of the village stood a half-ruined house, its roof caved in and windows shattered. He hesitated, eyes tracing the outlines. The logic was clear: no one would watch a forgotten ruin. The courtyard was empty, but the snow was thick, muting every sound. He stepped inside cautiously, the floorboards groaning softly beneath him. Each step echoed in the cold interior, and he could almost feel the history of the building pressing down on him. 3 people were seated inside, 2 in civilian clothes, the enemy, and a woman who seemed to be a courier for the Allies. Names were unspoken, yet each gesture and glance carried weight. Artem felt the burden of his role, small yet critical. The envelope had to reach exactly this place. One misstep, one wrong word, and the delicate balance could shatter. "Has everyone received what they were supposed to?" the woman asked quietly, her voice calm, yet every syllable carried authority. No one replied. Eyes moved in silent calculation, measuring threat and trust. Minutes passed, thick with tension. The weight of the envelope seemed to grow in Artem's hands. "The document is indeed important," one of the enemy men said, sliding it forward. "Every word here could change the course of events." Artem swallowed, his throat dry. He didn't know the contents, yet he felt the gravity of the secret. His gaze swept the room, maps scattered across the fireplace, a cracked chair by the window, the faint smell of smoke and dust. Everything seemed ordinary, yet he knew it was extraordinary. "We are ready to hear your terms," the woman added, nodding subtly. The discussion turned technical. Intelligence exchanges, troop movements, the closure of front lines. The language was dry, almost bureaucratic, but each number, each coordinate, carried life or death consequences for thousands. Artem's eyes never left those around the table. He felt as though he was witnessing history being written in invisible ink, in a room few would ever know existed. Suddenly, one enemy man raised his hand. His gaze cut through the room, cold and unyielding. "Can we trust this career?" he asked. All eyes turned to Artem. Artem's chest tightened. The decisive moment had arrived. His hands shook violently, but he gathered every ounce of courage. Voice low but firm, he declared, "Yes, I delivered the document and nothing was lost." The woman nodded. The enemy relaxed slightly, though tension still vibrated in the air. Artem realized how a tiny piece of paper could alter the course of war. "Why is it so important?" he asked softly. "Because the world isn't always saved by cannons," the woman replied, faintly smiling. "Sometimes a few decisions made in silence save thousands of lives." The meeting concluded and Artem retraced his steps through the forest. Darkness had deepened, shadows lengthened, and every tree seemed poised to betray him. Tracks of a sabotage group appeared in the snow. Heart racing, he moved carefully, ducking behind trees, slipping through narrow paths, mindful of every sound. One misstep could cost him not only his life, but the success of the mission. Hours later, he encountered a frozen stream. The ice cracked beneath his boot, sending a shiver through his body. He crouched, holding his breath, listening. Nothing stirred. He picked his way across, each movement deliberate, praying the brittle ice would hold. Halfway across, a low wind howled, carrying whispers of the forest. Artem's mind raced, picturing enemy patrols, hidden rifles, the smallest threat magnified by the snow silence. Finally, he emerged from the trees onto a narrow road. Relief mingled with exhaustion, but the danger was not over. He moved quickly, aware that any lingering shadow might conceal pursuit. The village behind him disappeared into the storm, leaving only the biting cold and the echo of his footsteps. At home, Artem sat long, holding the envelope. Its contents were no longer secret to those who had seen it, yet it preserved the memory of every risk. History of war isn't written only with battles or cannon fire. It is written in these invisible moments, quiet yet immense in consequence. He thought of the meeting in the ruined house, scarier than any bombardment, he reflected, because lives of strangers rested on whispered words, each sentence a potential verdict. True heroes rarely receive medals. Often they are shadows in history, unseen, unrecorded, yet without them, the world would be entirely different. Years later, when asked about the war, Artem remained silent. The secret negotiations would never reach public record. Perhaps that's why they mattered most, because sometimes the world is saved not by loud battles, but by quiet actions in a forgotten house. True courage, Artem understood, is neither loud nor visible. It hides in corners, in rooms no one sees, shaping the fate of those unknown to us. And he knew this memory would stay with him forever, as a silent witness to the fact that sometimes one right word at the right moment can save the world.